Hey guys, how are you? It's not picking me up lie over there. I want to make sure I've
Oh,
done this
I'm
right. I'm
looking
not
at it
muted.
in my browser on my phone, but I'm also going to be looking at other websites, so I might not be able to see.
Hey guys. Okay, I got it. Now hold on, people. How are you? Ivy, I muted you for a second. How's everybody? I want to go through and say, hey, Lake, Wom. Lake says she'll be a little late. Hey, Sapphire, Sarge, Chris G. Welcome, Charles Dixon. Thank you for signing the petition. I'm getting down here. Hey, Sharon. Oh, went for a sec. Okay. Hey, Junie. Hey, Taffy. And okay, I'm going to unmute Ivy for a minute, but we have Ivy Rose with us tonight, and
Hello.
she's going to speak on chronic pain. And oh, hey, Cher, you're not late, honey. We're just starting. And we're going to let her discuss here in a little bit. We'll wait a few minutes. Hey, Jerry. Hey, Joy. We're going to let Ivy Rose lay things out. Hey, Hubs, while we all may agree or disagree with what she says, we don't know yet because she hasn't spoke. But when she's done, we will take questions. And we were talking a little bit behind, backstage before we came live. And like she said, there's just so much to cover. She may not get everything done tonight, so we may have a two-parter. Kind of depends on you guys too. So thank you guys for coming. I've missed you guys. I've been super busy. So, I didn't make it on Sunday. I didn't make it on last night. I've really missed you guys, though. So everybody welcome Ivy Rose while we wait for others to come in.
Hi,
And
guys.
Ivy, thank you for coming on, Ivy.
You're very welcome. Just let me know when you're ready.
Nico may not be here. He's super busy himself. He's working and busy with family. So he may not be here. I guess we can get started. I have not missed anybody, have I? I just want to say again, it's so great to see you guys. I have missed you. Just know when we're not here, when I'm not on, I'm thinking of you. And again, Wom, thank you for sharing that petition, and thank everybody that has signed it and shared it. I shared it on my Twitter. I do need to share it on my Facebook and in my group, though. So share. I will be doing that. I'm sorry, hun. I haven't. I've been super, super busy. I had to take Mom to the doc today, 2 appointments. And so between busy and super tired, but I will. No, Joy, I just checked
Oh, yeah. I
several
forgot about
times.
that.
Yeah, I checked several times, though,
I hope
this
he's okay.
evening. And I think he's okay. I think his computer's on the blitz. He said after he did his last update, it acted up. So that's why he didn't go live tonight, I assume. So missed that. So yes, thanks everybody for signing that petition, and keep sharing it, please, because one way or another, we're not going to stay silent about Ray. We're going to keep pushing. And I want to give a shout out to Incognito for her show Saturday, and to Mel in Open Secrets, because that definitely brought some awareness for Ray. right? Yes, praise the Lord.
Mhm.
Amen. Woohoo. Okay, so Ivy, like I tell all my guests, you go ahead and talk. I'll watch the chat and welcome people in as they come and comment. So I'm going
Okay.
to mute and you just
Well,
take the
feel free
floor.
to stop me at any time, in case I start rambling on in a direction that I don't need to be going in.
Okay, I will. You have
So,
the floor.
I guess I'll give my a little bit of my background first. So I have chronic pain in my neck that I take medication for. I don't take much compared to what is out there that people take, and it controls it really well. I haven't had a change in my prescription in probably 2 or 3 years, so everything's good there. I also have anxiety, which normally people wouldn't think of going with chronic pain, but the reason that it is related is because even though there's no, at least that I know of, no actual regulation that says that you can't, I have never seen over the last probably 5 years at least somebody who will, a doctor who will prescribe both, or let you take, whether they actually prescribe them or not, opiate medication for pain and like a benzodiazepine medication for anxiety. So you have to pick between one or the other, which can be very frustrating sometimes. The other experience I have is through my stepfather, who had, I'm not sure what his disease was called, to be honest, but basically he had some sort of like osteoporosis type thing where he would develop small fractures in his back and I think other bones, but mostly in his spine. He also, earlier in his life, probably when he was a younger adult, had a problem with alcohol. He went to AA and was sober, was fine. That was way before I knew him. So when I met him years and years later, he would drink beer like a normal person, maybe two or three, like on a Saturday if he was like outside working, and that was all. So then he got on medication eventually, pain medication, opioid medication for his pain. He became addicted to that. I didn't know this until after everything was over, but he became addicted to that. And talking with my mom, it was to the point where she said if she was on her way home from work and he didn't answer the phone, she was just preparing herself to get home and find his body dead from an overdose. So that was very surprising for me to find out. So he went and detoxed off of that. And I think the reason that he has problems with addiction, besides that it's, a genetic thing and a disease, is he had untreated anxiety that he never really talked about. I think probably because of the stigma, and I think he was self medicating for that. So, fast forward, he was sober, doing well, and he started to drink again. He said he wouldn't get back on the medication because of how it affected his life and how he was addicted to it, but he started to drink again, and alcohol, is acceptable in society. So, again, I didn't know until it was all over that apparently he turned into a full blown raging alcoholic and ended up killing himself. So, I think I kind of have an understanding from a few different sides of the whole situation when it comes to opiates and chronic pain and addiction. I'm also a therapist, but I don't have a whole bunch of official education in addiction treatment. So I don't think I would actually list that. But anyway, back to the actual timeline of when all this started is back in 2015. The CDC released a um, some opioid prescription guidelines, but they weren't official yet. It was just, here's our idea. The problem is that when government agencies do things like this, they're supposed to go through this process, and the process includes the public and experts in whatever field it is, and they all kind of put in their opinions, and it's very open and very transparent. Well, this was not like that. There was only a selective audience that was invited to a pretty secretive online webinar where basically the CDC really quickly outline the recommendations, and then they refused to answer any questions. So, and then also the guidelines were not posted online, and then copies were not made available, which is very strange. So, they also refused to disclose who wrote the guidelines, but eventually the names were leaked, and it turns out that a group called PROP, which stands for Physicians for Responsible Opioid Prescribing, which is headed by a psychiatrist named Dr. I think it's Kolodny, maybe it's Kolodny, and he works in addiction treatment. So he's a psychiatrist. He does not have education or experience in treating chronic pain, and for some reason, he is just extremely against opioids. I'm not sure why. I take that back. He's not extremely against all opioids because he's also trying to get all chronic pain and addiction patients off of what we call, like, your standard opioids and onto what's called buprenorphine, which technically is an opioid, but we'll get into that later. So they're they're the people who helped write it. The CDC did not disclose who wrote it, but the names were eventually leaked and the public became aware. So when all that came out, there was a very short period of time to when they were going to pass this, and it became a part of the Comprehensive Addiction and Recovery Act, also known as CARA. The U.S. House of Representatives and their Committee on Oversight actually sent a letter to the CDC director in December of 2015, stating their concerns over the irregularities of how they had gone about doing all of this. So there was that. And about at that same time, those guidelines that they said, let me back up a little bit. These guidelines, according to their writing, were only meant for primary care doctors who were treating pain in patients who are not on opioids. According to their recommendations, it was not for specialists, not for pain specialists, not for chronic pain, not for cancer-related pain, just for opiate naive patients being treated by a primary care doctor. So even though that act hadn't been passed and these guidelines were only for primary care, those guidelines became basically law for the VA. They were the first ones to really adopt them. Hard stop, this is what we do. And during 2016, I think it was, there were several, I'm sure there are way more, but there were several veterans who committed suicide. I need to step back. I'm trying to get used to not saying committed suicide, who died by suicide on VA property because they were not getting treated for their pain. So next, because of all this kind of hubbub that was brought on by the letter that was sent to the CDC, they held the required public hearing, and there's a lot of negative comments from the public, from pain doctors, from patients, from patient advocates, from a lot of different people. But they basically they took the comments, they didn't do anything, and they passed it. Like 3 weeks, or it was either 3 weeks or 3 months later. My brain's not remembering that very well. So I told you that it was only for primary care doctors and patients who were opiate naive. Well, what happened is it basically became the unofficial law of the land, and in some places official, for all doctors of any specialty. It was adapted or adopted by as policy by states, by insurers, by pharmacy chains. Not so much by, in my experience at least, by the like mom and pop pharmacies, but definitely by like Walgreens, CVS, Walmart, places like that, and law enforcement agencies. And when I say law enforcement agencies, I'm talking more about like state agencies, the DEA, both state and federal DEA, and more like people like that instead of, like your town or whatever law enforcement. So as a result of this, millions of pain patients either were tapered off of their medication or they were completely cut off altogether. And this was done, whether they refused or not. It was just we've been treating you, and I'm sure a lot of them, the majority of them, were probably doing well on their medication, or they were at least working to getting to be doing well with their doctor, developing their treatment plan. And because of these new guidelines that were not based on any medical evidence, they just cut them off, or they dramatically decreased the amount of medication they were on to some arbitrary number that, again, is not backed by science. It was officially published in March 2016. And let's see where I'm at. I tried to write some notes. That would have been just a mess if I didn't do that. So the guidelines are basically, without getting into all the details, are you can prescribe up to 90 MME. I'm forgetting what MME stands for. It's something morphine equivalent. And basically what it is if you convert whatever drug, so let's say oxycodone, for example, if you convert oxycodone into morphine, I don't know the number off the top of my head. I want to say it's like ×2. So that means that let's say if it is ×2, that means that oxycodone is 2 times stronger than morphine. So an equivalent for oxycodone, the equivalent to 90 MME would be 45 MME, because it takes double. So I hope that makes sense. So if you remember, the doctor who's the founder of Prop, who was behind all of this, he is a psychiatrist and treats addiction. He, according to him, and I guess I'll go ahead and believe him, does not have a financial interest in a pharmaceutical company. However, he does have financial interest in at least one that I know of, large addiction treatment center, and another foundation. There might be more. I just did a quick search on that before I came on, because I didn't know off the top of my head, but that's at the very least that he has financial interest in. So what's interesting and very frustrating, more than frustrating really, is that they had those limits. The FDA also said you cannot prescribe benzos, which are benzodiazepine, which are usually used for anxiety, but also I think can be used for seizures. And I'm sure other things, but that's what I know of, and opiates together, because they're both downers. And a lot of times when you find people who have OD'd on opiates, they have mixed those with benzos, and it makes it more dangerous. Which I understand that is a problem, but at the same time, I don't think it's okay to come in and make this blanket statement and rule that you can't put those together and say, sorry, you have to choose one of your disorders to treat, one of your medical problems to treat. So that's the problem for me. The interesting part, and I use interesting in quotes and very sarcastically, is that the FDA gave doctors permission to combine benzos and opioids for addiction patients. They also exempted addicts from the limit of opioids that they can be treated with. I'm not sure how that's fair. I don't know if this is a fact, but I also heard that I can't remember what hurricane that was that hit the Carolinas maybe like a year and a half or two ago. But when that happened, a lot of doctors were closed, obviously, because it's a hurricane. So people who are due for their opiates, because you can't have a stockpile of opiates, it was very structured. You cannot get more than 1 month prescription at a time. There are no refills. You can't fill it early by more than 2 or 3 days. So you have to be on time. So people who were due for their medication refills didn't have it and were going through withdrawals. They, again, don't quote me on this, it's just what I heard and read, but I didn't see an official anybody say it. Either helicoptered or flew in on a plane opiate medication for addicts, but not for people with chronic pain. So they brought it in from different states to make sure that people who are being treated for addiction at addiction treatment facilities were taken care of. But who cares about the people who are in pain? So if we back up a little bit to, I said that the recommendations were part of what's called CARA, which stands for Comprehensive Addiction and Recovery Act. If you follow politics and hear people talk about how Trump signed in an act to help with the opiate crisis, for the opiate epidemic, is probably what they're talking about. It says that the interventions used, so the things that they're going to do to lower the deaths from ODs from opioids that are put into place, will be evaluated for their effectiveness after a certain period of time. Those interventions that need to be evaluated include the guidelines. The act actually states that the input on effectiveness was supposed to involve patients, patient advocates, veterans, pain management doctors, everybody like that. And those people were also supposed to be unbiased people. That has never happened. They have never evaluated those interventions for effectiveness, so they're just there. And then I don't have these numbers off the top of my head either. My apologies. But I know at one point the CDC very, very quietly reported that the original number of ODs that they had reported from opioids, they had gotten wrong. And it was actually about half that number. So little things like that have happened. When people like Prop, they have several things that they say. I'm going to have to go away from the chat. Not that I've been looking at it. Apparently I can't read and talk at the same time. Let's see. One of the biggest problems, besides people being miserable, is the suicides. There have been hundreds, at the very, very least, of suicides from people who have pain that's not being treated, excruciating pain that they cannot live with. And the thing is, people say, it could have been something else. They could have had depression or other mental health concerns. But many of these people, when you talk to their families and their counselors or therapists or psychiatrists, because a lot of times people who are being treated for chronic pain are required to have a psychiatrist, whether or not they have a mental health disorder or not. Those people weren't previously prone to suicide. That those were planned deaths that they talked with their families and their loved ones with about, and they planned them out. Because that was what was best for them, because they couldn't live like that. It was cruel to force them to live like that anymore. And a lot of I'm on Twitter and I follow a lot of chronic pain patients and chronic pain advocates. And I'm kind of a part of that conversation a lot. And you would not believe the number of people who have plans in place of how they are going to kill themselves once their medication gets to the point where they can't do it anymore. Everybody's just waiting for the next shoe to drop for their doctor to quit. I've had a doctor quit before. They gave me 1 week and I had to find another doctor. They were just gone. No records, no anything. Or for the DEA to come in and arrest their doctor. Because at this point, even though technically they're recommendations and the CDC likes to say that they're only recommendations and only guidelines, that's not the case. There are numerous stories of doctors who sometimes the media, but mostly politicians who are part of like the prop type people, that they will say were pill mills, but they were not. They were legitimate doctors who were treating, adequately treating their patients and appropriately treating their patients. And because they weren't switching their patients to the buprenorphine, or because they were over this arbitrary number, they're losing their licenses and they're being arrested. And some of them are being put into prison and getting prison time for this, which is crazy. They're law enforcement and the government are making decisions for people's health care. They have no training to do that. I mean, it's something that I think is going on that the average person doesn't know about. And the fact that there's so many people that I know online who have a plan worked out in case they are cut back again or in case they lose their doctor is mind-blowing. Let's see, hold on. I had a bunch of web pages with stuff I was going to say, but I've kind of gotten off track, so I don't know where I'm at. So I'm just going to wing it. So one of the biggest problem is that numbers, which since I don't have them in front of me, I don't have on the not having them memorized. Prop likes to give these numbers, and they say that ODs are now the number one most common accidental death in adults in the US. The problem is that when they say that, they allude to those ODs being ODs from opiates, and they are not. They're ODs from any medication ever. So, antidepressants, benzos, opiates, sleeping pills, just from aspirin, whatever, any of those things. So when you take all that out, um, then get down to just the opiates, it ends up being about half. And then the problem with looking at just the opiates is they're combining legitimate prescribed opiates with heroin and illicit fentanyl that comes from different countries that people don't have prescriptions for. And they're combining those two things, which is misleading. So when you parse that all out, it ends up that prescribed opiates that lead to overdoses ends up being less than deaths caused from bicycle accidents, which is very low. Um, and addiction among people who are being treated for chronic pain, like long-term pain, who are on opiates long-term, the addiction in those people is less than 1%, which is definitely not what the
Uh-oh, we lost her. She'll be back. There she is. There you are.
there. Am I back? I don't know what happened. What was the
Yeah.
last thing you heard?
You're back.
What was the last thing you heard?
Well, I had to leave for a minute. I said, be right back because I think Ollie did a no. And then as I came back, you just disappeared. Um,
Okay. Let me scroll through these comments real quick.
okay. Hey, Lake.
Oh, Junie,
Darling.
thank you. Oh,
Um,
Medicaid regulations also prohibits. Oh, I have not seen that, Junie, about the Medicaid regulations prohibiting prescription of buprenorphine. So I forgot about the buprenorphine. It is an opiate. A lot of time you might notice Suboxone, which is used for addiction. It works well for people who are addicts, but they are trying to put people. They're trying to treat chronic pain with it, and it does work a little bit. And for some people, it works well. Um, the problem is not so much that they're using buprenorphine, but that they are forcefully taking people off a medication that already works for them and putting them on something else when there's no need for it, and it's not based on any evidence or any science, but on political reasons. So you've got all these people, the people who are pushing all of this are addiction specialists and people who are in the addiction field who have no business having any say over what happens for treatment for pain. They have no experience in that and no training in that, and for some reason they're allowed to do that. So that's a big problem there. So let me scroll through some more. Ange, do you have any questions or any questions you've seen? Oh, Dana, I see your comment about taking pain pills and Klonopin. I don't know if it's one of those things that is like a state by state thing or what, because usually in the US it seems like things are more like every state has their own rules, even if most of them are similar. That just seems more common than having an overarching federal law. And a lot of this isn't law per se. It's not officially law. it's law in using people are using it as law, but it's not official, if that makes any sense. So, but I know in my state at least, so when my dog passed away and I was just an absolute wreck, and I called on a Thursday night. My dog was having seizures. It wasn't when he passed away. He started having seizures, and we were having to stay up, either me or my boyfriend, 24 hours a day to take care of him. And I was just going out of my mind. And I called my pain management doctor, and I left them a message, and I said, I know I'm not supposed to have benzos, but if my psychiatrist will give it to me, I'm willing to stop the opiates right now just so I can take that, so I can do something about this anxiety. And they're like, no, you can't. There's just nothing we can do about it. That's not allowed. And everybody I know in my state, that's how it is. Another problem is Medicaid. There are some states where their Medicaid program has said that we're not going to cover this, or we're not going to cover it over this amount, which is less, a lot of times it's less than the guidelines. Which, kind of coming from my social justice background, makes me think about how that gives people who are on the lower end of the income spectrum not as many options, which can also be seen because a lot of insurances may say that they cover pain management, but they make it so hard for the pain management doctors to work with. I know that's happened to mine. I still pay for my pain management out of pocket, even though I have insurance, and good insurance, because Blue Cross Blue Shield likes to say that they have decreased their opiate prescriptions, but really they just don't cover very many pain management doctors. One very scary thing is that they are trying to cut out opiates from surgeries after surgery. So there's been a huge decrease in the number of opiate pain medication that is given post-operatively. I personally know people who have had surgeries, say like one was an appendectomy, where they moved an appendix and they were given ibuprofen to go home on. And there are insurances who will pay the surgeon more, like a bonus, if they don't give opiates afterwards, which to me is crazy that that's even legal. So that's another thing that I forgot to mention. Let's see, let me look at the things again.
Well, Ivy Rose, actually, I had myself muted and I didn't know it.
Were you talking?
Well, when you asked about questions, I had asked anybody if they had questions or comments. I said I had one. I was going to wait for a little bit, but on the topic of what Dana had said, yeah, I am prescribed pain meds too, and Ativan, which is classified
Really?
as a benzo, and I have been, and my psychiatrist obviously is the one who prescribed my benzo. But he told me that, they don't like that. The people on his side don't like it, and the people on the pain doctor's side don't like it. But, what do you do? I mean, somebody has anxiety and depression, and so, you have to take something for it. And then if somebody has chronic pain, but let me tell you something, because there's hi, Tin. Hi, honey.
Your connection's a little weird.
Huh?
Your connection's a little weird.
Mine is?
Yeah.
Okay, is that mine?
I think so.
Hold on, let me mute and you say something.
Okay. Dana, I'm on Suboxone for pain.
Okay, now let me talk. That is weird, isn't it? I don't know
I'm not
what
on very much. And that's because I don't want to be on very much, because the only reason I'm on it is to make my pain doctor happy. Good night, West.
Good night, West, honey. Sweet dreams. I hope you get to feeling better. Well, I kind of hear it when I talk, or I kind of hear it when you talk. I don't know what that is on my end. Um, hold on a minute.
What did Wes say? I'm very tired from work, emotionally drained from all the death in my. Oh, that's so sad. I wish I would have seen that earlier. We would have been a little off topic, but we could have talked about that.
Okay, I heard a lot when you were talking too.
Maybe we
So
should exit out and
must,
start over.
we can both leave the studio and come back and see if that fixes. It will not interfere in the connect with the.
Okay.
So we'll be back, guys, to see if this clears up our mic issues. See, I'm talking right now and I don't hear anything.
It's good right now.
So, okay. Now, do I sound clear? But I'm going to go ahead and leave and come right back, but it's not going to mess with the the video. I'll be right back, guys. Oh, it's still bad? Okay, hold on. Do I sound better? Do I sound okay, guys? I left and I came back. Okay, now I'm going to add Ivy. We're back, Ivy. So I want to, you go ahead and say something real quick.
Joy had, she said her plastic surgeon told her to go across state lines to get away from the 30-day rule. In my state, I can't remember the exact thing, but I think our rule for the first prescription is for 3 days, and then you have to come back. And the second, I think, is for 7 days, and then you have to come back, and then you can get more after that.
Now our rule is, well, I wanted to finish up that I have been prescribed 56 pills a month.
Wow.
For 5 or 6 years.
Oh, wait, I was thinking a day. I was like, there's a lot of pills.
No, a month. And the same amount for 5 or 6 years. And then they got raised to 60 just not long ago, just because I don't know why. She just upped them to 60. And I have good days and I have bad days. Now, when I have good days, I don't take them. And it says on the bottle how much to take per day as needed. I just wanted to point that out because I'm going to get to something later. I know this is your show, but when I respond to you.
I wonder if you're going to get to the same thing I was just thinking.
But to what you just said, when you go to a pain doctor for the first time here in Indiana, in my area, to most doctors, because of the new laws, they drug test you. They wait for that drug test. Wait a minute now. I've got to think. Do they go ahead and give you the 7-day script, or do they wait for the drug test to come back? But either way, they give you a 7-day script. And then
a lot of places have those quick drug tests where if they're positive, then they send it off to the lab.
They give you the 7-day script, I think. And then if your test is clean, then they give you the rest for a month. And then after that, and they'd give you a 90-day, they'd call in every month for 90 days, but you had to check in with your doctor every 90 days. Now it's every 2 months.
Wow, mine's a month, every month, and they don't care what happens. COVID, don't care.
Well,
house burns down, don't care. You have to go in.
During the COVID, they did the tele calls, and now they're back to normal. and you get drug tested every time. I think I've not been tested once or twice since I've been seeing my pain doctor, because before it was my family doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it was only 56, because a primary care physician can only give you 56 pills a month.
So back, Dana, she said she takes 2 Suboxone a day and 2 Klonopin a day. That makes more sense to me because I think my doctor, I'm not sure on this, but I think if I was on Suboxone, that they wouldn't count it as an opiate exactly, which really bothers me because I think there's a lot of financial interest in Suboxone treatment, or not really Suboxone, but buprenorphine, which includes Suboxone. And I think that is one of the corrupt reasons why, because a lot of opiates are cheap.
Dana, well, my son was diagnosed with that,
I have it
but
too. That's what's wrong with my neck.
now he has, they diagnosed him with the same thing I have, which is lumbar spondylosis. And then he's also got degenerative arthritis and something else. He's got something with discs in his back, and he's got all kinds of stuff wrong with his back.
Is,
But
is your son, do I remember right that one of your, how many kids do you have?
I have one son. I have three step sons.
Okay. Do I remember that your son was an addict at some point,
He's a recovering addict.
or recovering?
He was addicted to meth.
How
That
does
was
that affect his treatment that he is able to get for pain?
um you mean, does it keep him from getting treatment?
Yes. Do they label
Um,
him as a drug seeker?
well, his doctor is fine with him now. His he had, for some reason, he saw a nurse practitioner, and she's one of those doctors that don't like giving anybody any. And she was going to give him a hard time because
Mm-hmm.
she knew he was an addict. But his doctor, overrides her, of course, and he knows he's an addict, and he just is careful with him. He's only on as much as I am, and he's careful with him. And luckily, that wasn't his addiction. And he had a procedure, an epidural, and
Mm-hmm.
that has really, really helped him. So he doesn't need the pain meds.
That's always been one of my questions is, so if you're an addict, does that mean that you don't get the same options for treatment that other people do? I mean, I don't think
Some
that's fair or
doctors,
ethical.
some doctors are like that, you know, if they know. And he was honest with them. Hey, Nico, there's my
Hi,
son.
Nick. Let's see, who was that? Mel. Yes, I have been on Neurontin. It was one of the first things I tried because I have stenosis in my, that's one of the things in my neck, and it sometimes really aggravates my nerves. So I'll get pain where it's kind of like on my shoulder going into like where my clavicle bone is, nerve pain, and then it'll go down my arm, be in my elbow, and then like in the top of my hand on both sides. And I was on that for a little bit, and it kind of, it was a tiny bit sedating, but that is about all. And I don't know, I wish it would have worked.
Are you answering Mel? I mean,
Yes.
Cold Truth. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry about the
Uh,
name.
I know. I don't know, Cold. You probably weren't here. And I know we all know your name, and if you wish to be called by that, that's fine. But I decided that unless people go by their real name on here, we're going to call them by their chat name, just for safety reasons. So, and it is very odd for me not to call you by
Sorry.
your name because you're like my, you know, close friend. So, but if you choose that, that's fine. But yeah, I was prescribed gabapentin, and it makes me. I mean, I just crash when I take it. So, um, it. if it does help, because I have neuropathy in my hand, and nothing helps that other than CBD or marijuana. I'm just going to be flat out honest. Um, if the
So
gabapentin does help, it only helps me when I'm sleeping.
do
So,
you don't have to answer this since I know the situation in your state, but do you utilize those things to help?
um, well, it's not legal here, so I don't often because Carroll County's, hard.
Yeah.
But CBD, somebody gave me some really good from the hemp farm,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean it is good because yes, it helps. Um, it helps all my pain actually, but
And the bad thing about that is that insurance doesn't cover it, and good CBD is expensive.
that's true. It is a little pricey, but it does last quite a while because just a little bit helps me. And so I've ordered I've ordered some of it online. But yeah, the price sucks. Insurance, and that's what we're going to fall into with medical marijuana, right?
Yep.
Insurance isn't going to cover it. He does CRG. He speaks though because he's not typing, he's speaking because he's at work and he's just so.
So
We
for
don't
my
care if people misspell here anyway, Chris. We don't have to be all technicality here.
no, I'd make type. I swear, the last like maybe 2 or 3 weeks, my typo rate has been like through the roof. I don't know what's wrong with my fingers. But so medical marijuana, since you bring that up, I'm actually waiting. I just did my application and I'm waiting for that. But in order, I think it was maybe Dana earlier asked about Suboxone, and I'm on Suboxone for pain, not because I want to be, but to make my pain doctor happy enough so that they will even allow me to try medical marijuana, even though it's legal in my state. And it's been legal for like a year or more, and they're just now getting to that point where you have to back way down on the amount of other opioids you're on and get on buprenorphine.
Yeah. And that's the thing I you mentioned that they use that to help people with the addiction of opiates, but that's actually an opiate.
Yeah, and I didn't get a chance to look it up, but I want to say that, again, don't quote me on this, that there's not much, either not much evidence or no evidence, or maybe it's just not approved for using buprenorphine to treat pain, that it's actually using it off label.
Okay.
And then some other experiences that I know some people. Let me let my cat out. He's gonna sit and scratch on the door forever because he's a cat. Um, I know that insurance companies and pharmacies have taken it upon themselves to be doctors, which really annoys me, and will, like a pharmacy, for example, will say, no, I think this is too much. I think it's an inappropriate amount and I'm not going to fill it. And now I'm going to call the doctor, and they might even report your doctor, or your insurance company says, no, we're not going to pay for that. And then talk about your treatment plan when they are not physicians. And that makes no sense. Our whole medical system, healthcare system, is just a big trash fire.
Yeah, you can call me whatever you guys want because everybody, you know what I mean? I was just trying to make everybody else safe here, but so I was answering Cher's question. Another thing, does anybody else have any more questions before I make my big comment here because it might it might cause some good discussion or
Okay.
some differencing opinions anyways. But that's okay. Dana says, let's see, I got to hop back. I'm
Oh,
going back and
Dana.
forth between I do use CBD salve on my back, but no way could I smoke marijuana for pain. The one time I did smoke, it made me so paranoid I hid in my closet. I'm not going to laugh at you because, Dana, when I was younger, teenager, And I'm not going to say all kids experiment because there are those that don't.
I was one of those. I regret not trying more drugs.
But I did. And I mean, my boyfriend when I was a teenager, and one of my very good friends and her boyfriend. I mean, that's all we did. We would drive. He had the hottest freaking rod in town. I'll never forget it. And we loved that car. It was I can't remember what year, but it was a GTO, which is similar to a Nova. And it was freaking, I mean, that car, everybody loved it. We loved it. And we would drive around in that car, sometimes with other friends. And yeah, we would. We'd get high, or we'd hang out at his house or whatever. But you know what? I didn't like it because that's all it did to me. This is all it would do: make us laugh forever, give us the munchies. Then I'd get paranoid, and then you go to sleep. So I didn't really like it back in that day. Um, then, when I got older, and I mean, I was scared to do it again because of those memories. But um,
I
I
smoked
think,
the first time about, I don't know, 6 months ago, and I can count on one hand how many times I've done that. But I tried edibles about the same amount of time, and it was the same batch, same bag, and I did the exact same amount of edible. It was a gummy, and the first time was good. A lot of my anxiety for some reason stems from time, like feeling like I don't have enough time. And since weed kind of slows time down, I really liked it. But the second one I took the exact same way made me so anxious. It was weird.
and there are different strains that can make
Well, this
that
is from the same package.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
That is weird. Cold truth, does insurance cover the Botox injections?
And can they put it in my face afterwards?
I'm just looking at comments here real quick. I know I probably missed a ton. It's
Late.
really hard, guys, to watch the chat while you're talking,
It is.
and then it's hard to watch the chat and then make sure I hear everything Ivy's saying, but I was trying to make sure I didn't miss the chat too. Um, uh,
How do you know
yeah,
who's a mod? They all look the same to me.
in here you can't.
Okay.
In StreamYard, you can't see the wrenches. You just have to kind of like know by memory, which
Mm-hmm.
I do mostly. But I always have my YouTube on too, so I kind of go back and forth. Um, Lake says, question for chat. Are the ones having trouble with buffering or flickering using Android? Just curious. I have rebooted and shut phone down and updated YouTube. Still having trouble listening. Ding dang it. I hate that.
The
So
other
that's
day,
a
when
question.
there's what?
Oh, I was just going to say, so that's a question for everybody from Lake.
Well, the other day when we were having so much trouble, was that on when you were doing a show? I think it was.
Um, yeah, it was it
And
Thursday? And
something
then
like that.
YouTube was reported a couple days. They weren't reported, but it was reported YouTube was having issues.
So I had, because the people who are having trouble seem to be like the people who are on cell phones. And since I wasn't having trouble, I had wondered, because I have an iPhone, if it was the people on Android, the Android app, that were having trouble.
Yeah, because I went to my iPhone and I wasn't having issues.
Well, I don't
Um,
like that. What about, are you using the, you're on your phone, sorry. Are you using the app, I guess? If you're using the app, maybe you should try to use the browser and see if that helps.
Go to youtube.com. Okay, here's Joy, my wild child. I smoked some trippy weed out of a 6-foot bong, and I fell down and thought I was falling off the earth at Golden State. Cold truth, I was absolutely miserable, and I completely understand how people get so desperate they end their own life.
I have bad depression too, and I was at one point, maybe it's probably been a year and a half or two ago. I was so desperate because I was in a really bad depressive episode, and I tried. They have ketamine treatments that they're not FDA approved, so no coverage on them, and you have to pay out of pocket, and they're expensive. But I found a place because normally they do drips of it, and it takes a while. But places were charging like $500 a treatment for that. So I found a place that did it for like 200, and instead of a drip, they did a injection, so it like hit you all at once. And being somebody who's never tried drugs, though, it was so weird. It was because it's I guess a hallucinogen, and like sounds had color to them. It was actually kind of cool.
So let's see. Uh,
Oh,
Now
dang, that's terrible.
I'm missing some. Android here, Jerry says. Taffy says Android.
Where'd that go? Charles, what products do you have a specific product that you like?
Angel Bear agrees. Dana, Botox for my frequent migraines, and yes, my insurance covered it, but unfortunately it didn't work for me. I still have as many as 3. Oh, goodness.
I've never had a migraine, but from the description I've heard, they just sound like one of the worst things ever.
Yes. I I used to have migraines really bad, and then I don't get them often, but I did a few weeks ago. I had one all weekend. But I don't normally get them. But I guess the side effect from this epidural I'm going to be getting, or this
Yeah,
injection,
bad headaches.
that's a side effect. My son said he got a mild one, but it didn't last long.
I think that if I remember right, that's from your spinal fluid like leaking out, and if you are really careful to like stay flat for longer, that it's supposed to really lessen the chance that you get one.
Charles said he likes them all, and
Do
used to
you
make
you
them in
say
order.
used to make them in Oregon? Does that mean you made them like yourself, or just somebody made them in Oregon?
Whoops. He says it's better use marijuana in hot teas and then some cold ice.
That's
Herbal ice.
interesting.
Yeah. See, I've never ever done it other than old school way. I mean, now they got all these different kinds of, I've never heard of. I'm like, man, I am like still stuck in the cave days or something.
I watched a show, it's been years ago, probably I would say between 5 and 10 years ago, about California, back when California had just medical marijuana. And it was a company who did delivery. And it was a show just about like the stuff that they did in their business. And they had like nachos, and it was in the cheese sauce and like different candies. And it was amazing what you can put it in.
Yeah. Um, my cousin does, yeah, she does the chocolates or like candy bars. But I think she uses CBD. I'm not sure. I mean, I know she's done both, but
I'm probably going to try to grow it once I get my license, just because I feel like that would be interesting.
okay. Nobody else have questions? Because I'm getting ready to
I'm ready for yours.
Respond to Ivy. I'm reading Taffy's comment to, she's responding to Dana.
That's interesting. Dana, have you tried the piercings that they say work?
Hey, crime lady.
Hey, crime.
Okay, so my response, because and you don't, I don't think you really talked about, we didn't really talk about addiction, but
Yeah, there was a lot of aspects we missed.
But and even a lot of addicts will agree to this, but I think there's a lot of people that will agree, and there's a lot of people that will disagree on this. This is a big debate.
That's a good question then.
But this is my response to, I do not think addiction, other than alcohol, that has been proven that it is genetically a disease. But I don't believe that drug addiction is a disease. I believe it is a choice. Because and I guess I mean, nobody wakes up one day and says, I'm going to be an addict. I don't mean that. But I think,
sorry.
I think, yes, Dana, yes.
That is sad.
Thank you. I didn't know if I was, I wanted to announce it, but I didn't know if I, and I really wanted to message Cold Truth about it, but I didn't know. That's why I asked her how she was doing, because she has a lot on her plate. It's very, very sad. She did. She passed away. She did. She did.
It's really sad.
Crime, I was supposed to message you. Angel Bear asked me to message you too. I have just been so busy. I mean, non-stop busy. I had to mute some conversations on Messenger because I haven't been able to keep up. I've been so busy, and when I'm not, I've been sleeping. Mom had 2 doctor appointments today, and I've just been busy. I mean, crazy
You gotta
busy.
take care of yourself.
Yes. They did gain an angel. She did have cancer. The truth comes out, and it's very sad. She did. Sharon was a good soul, never had a bad thing to say. She was a good moderator for Greeno. And yeah, so I wanted to let Cold Truth know, but at the same time, she's dealing with things in her personal life. I didn't, you know what I mean? So
don't want to add on to it.
Cold, I hope you understand. I mean, I was going to let you know, but I even started the text to send you, and then I thought, man, she's dealing with a lot right now, and with your daughter and everything, and I just didn't send it, but I started to. So please forgive me. But now, so we all know, and yeah, please keep her family in your prayers. So as I was saying, I mean, nobody wakes up and says, I'm going to be an addict today. But, and it's a battle for an addict, but I don't believe it's a disease, because they do make a choice not to be an addict anymore when they make that choice. And my son was an addict. I mean,
I have a question about that part of it.
Let me put it this way too. They're always an addict, but they're an addict in recovery. But my son will tell you it's a choice. Most addicts that I know will tell you that it's a choice to stay there or to
What
get
do you
out of
think
it.
about the statement that addiction is a disease and not a choice, but to continue using is?
Can you repeat that, Ivy? I'm sorry.
Yes. Addiction is a disease and not a choice, but continuing to use is a choice.
Addiction is not a disease,
And not a choice.
but to continue using is a choice.
Yes.
Yes, I think that is a true statement.
Okay.
Lafayette, hey, Lafayette came in and offered up that she's a recovering addict. So, what would your answer to that be, Lafayette? I'm not going to be able to Zoom crime after this. It's going to be late, probably. I am super tired. I'm sorry. Um,
And I appreciate Lafayette
being
trusting
brave.
us enough to and being brave enough to put that out there.
Yes. And congrats on your recovery.
Yes.
And I'm not, let me be clear on this now. When I made that statement, I'm not at all um, being ill will towards addicts. I have now, when my son was in addiction, was I angry? Was I up? Yes, I was. I didn't, and I still don't understand everything about addiction, but I'll tell you what, I sure have a heart for them because I
It's
know
hard.
it's a battle. I
It's
don't,
hard to understand how you can continue doing something that is ruining your life.
yes. And they don't want to, I know they have to make that choice, but I do know they don't want to be where they're at. And like I said, nobody wakes up one day and says, I want to be an addict.
There's
And
a really good, sorry.
for most addicts, for most, something leads them down that path. Something happens and I mean, for my son, it was his wife left, took the kids, and were gone. And he fought and fought and fought to try to save his marriage. And she kept the kids from him. And it was all kinds of stuff. And no, I'm not making an excuse, but that's what sent him down that path. Now, it was his choice to stay there. And, but there's always something for most addicts that, you know, now sometimes kids are just, or people are just, they go to a party and they're experimenting and they do it a couple times. And, some of these drugs, you're hooked right away. But I do have cold truth. It was Sharon Pipkin. Remember Sharon Pipkin? Um, and
Jerry, sorry. I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry.
let me get back over to StreamYard. I keep going back and forth. Um, Hi, Fox. Lafayette Shanigan, childhood trauma. Yeah, I mean, a lot of things, um, I do have a heart for people in addiction because I do know, and even when in recovery, I mean, it's a battle for them the rest of their lives. Um,
Can you click on where Jerry's? Jerry, I was going to tell you that, congratulations, by the way, but that reminds me of my grandma,
yes.
who has, I think back problems. I forget. I know she has rheumatoid arthritis too, but she is so afraid of becoming addicted to pain pills, and she's never even been on them, that she drinks instead. And I would, even though she's not an addict, like it's ruining her life, I think she probably has a problem with alcohol, but she's not willing to admit that. But it's just like, what's the difference?
Um, well, and another thing that we do see happening, another way that somebody can become um, an addict, we see happening a lot, and you may have brought this up, but I was focusing on the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is that
Oh no, it's happening again. I'm
on
gonna get out
me?
and come back in.
Okay. I kicked her out. She'll be back. Are you there, Ivy? Oh, she didn't leave yet. Um, what I was going to say, guys, is that a lot of people also will be prescribed meds from their doctor um, for a period of time, and then their doctor will just, for whatever reason, stop prescribing them. Oh, wow. She's on there 3 times. Well, I removed the other one. Um,
Did you say I was on there 3 times?
yeah,
That's weird.
I removed the other one though. So what I was saying is some people will get, you're very welcome, Lafayette. You may have said this and I was focused on the chat, so I might have missed it, but a lot of people will be prescribed medicine from their doctor for a period of time, and then for whatever reason, the doctor will stop prescribing to them.
Mm-hmm.
And they may not know they're addicted. They may not have, but then they don't have them anymore, and boom, their body starts withdrawing.
Well, there's a difference between addiction and dependence. So, like, being physically dependent is not the same as being addicted. Addiction has that, like, psychological and social parts of it.
StreamYard is sensitive to your speaker being moved. You have to hold your phone still. Maybe that's it.
It's or at least I know on my end it's not that, because I'm sitting here with my phone in my hand in front of me.
And I'm on my computer, and my mic is a ways back.
I know there's other things that you
Cold
missed.
truth. Yes, cold truth. That's who. I don't know if you heard me. You were on the phone. I went to text you. I even had the text ready to send you, but I stopped and I didn't send it because I'm like, she's got so much on her plate. She's dealing with too much. I know you're going through a lot. You're dealing with so much with your daughter. I mean, I was going to tell you, but this was last night. I was laying in bed, and right before I went to sleep, and I'm like, I can't tell her this. She's going through so much. And there's a lot there. So she did. She passed away of cancer. So please forgive me for not sending that text, but I was only thinking of you because you are going through so much. That's why I asked you earlier how you're doing.
I remembered another thing I was going to talk about when you get done with that.
Okay, Lafayette says, I was an IV drug user. but I met a man who helped me move to Delphi. I fell in love and got clean for him, me, and my children.
That's great.
All right, Lafayette.
Not I hate to
Congratulations.
even say congratulations because I don't feel like it's a luck. I think it's I want to know a better word like
Well,
it's a
it was she made a choice, and
yeah,
she
that's
made
what I
a
mean.
choice for, look, her children, him. I mean, he helped her. It takes work.
Yes. I guess congratulations is good. I just wanted to make sure it's not like because some people kind of look at it like, oh, you got lucky enough to stop. But no, it's hard work that you make the decision to do and you accomplish that goal.
Hey, Fox. Thank you. Glad you're here. So Ivy, you go on. You were going to say something.
Oh, so let me think. It was about drug seeking behavior. Okay, so I know at least this is only from my own experience. At my pain management clinic, they make you do at least once a year. And I have to say, all the stuff in place, my pain management doctor is one of the good ones when it comes to being an advocate for pain patients and not a part of the craziness. But there's an assessment you have to do at least once a year, and you answer all these questions on a little iPad thing, and they give you a score, and that score is basically your not your chance to get addicted, but your what am I? I'm lacking a word here. Your risk factor, I guess. And there's a couple questions that kind of bother me on there, even though I know there are risk factors. I hate that they can be used against people. One of them is, do you have any mental health issues? So, like depression, anxiety are the two most common, but anything else. And then the other one is, have you been a survivor of sexual assault? And I think, why is it that even though that is a risk factor, it just sucks that that could potentially be used against somebody for treatment for something. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
And then the other thing was very related was drug seeking behavior that some people look for. Well, a lot of people look for, but there's different behaviors that different people look for, and some of them make sense. Like, you've been you're short pills every month, or you call in and say that they're lost every other month, or your drug test is bad, whatever. But some of them are very there's signs of being in pain that I've noticed. So being make what I forget the wordage, but basically it's saying that it's a big deal for you to make sure you get your next prescription. But if you're a chronic pain patient, that is a big deal. Things like that, and sometimes tolerance increasing. Which if your tolerance increases every month, then there's probably a problem. But having your
Right.
tolerance increase every once in a while, not so much.
Yeah.
And then getting upset if you for changes and things like that. And then some people are labeled in their charts as either um, drug seekers or a non-compliant patient just because they don't want to do a certain treatment. But as part of the medical field and ethical treatment by doctors is allowing a patient to have autonomy in their treatment and being able to choose for yourself what you want to do.
Right.
So that doesn't make sense either.
Jerry Rock says, I should have only been on pills 2 weeks. Doc kept refilling for me, then cut me off. Pills too expensive on street and alcohol is cheap. And that's what I was person. She really was. Okay, Chair. Um, whether people like it or not, yes, he will. Crime.
What do you know when that is? Or are you comfortable saying when that is?
I don't know exactly, but I know he will. I know it's. Um, I mean, I know it's not what all the haters think, but I really don't want to talk about that. That's not
Yeah.
the subject of our discussion. So I feel great. Charles Dixon says, I feel great. Admit to addiction and face it. That is hardest part, especially when I was huge alcoholic. Sometimes tough love is needed. I have hurt others with my comments, especially online too. I'm not. Tonight's the first night I've seen you, Charles, so I don't know. I have not seen your comments before.
I feel like I might have seen him somewhere else, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, Sapphire. I think that is definitely a good thing to do for anybody.
Who brought
I think
Greeno up? I just want to know who brought Greeno up in this conversation. Was it Charles Dixon? I'm just wondering, because he's not the topic of the discussion and his name pops up.
maybe it came up talking about family.
I'm Charles Dixon. I would just like to ask what you're talking about. Who have you disrespected in all your actions online? I'm not.
Oh, stop that.
Tonight's the first time I think I've seen you, at least in my chat. Hey, Sapphire. My pharmacy gave out Narcan with my opiate prescription this month. Really?
I think that's a great thing to do. I think everybody should have it around. You could save somebody's life with it.
Yeah, but I've not ever had that happen.
It's kind of a newer thing, I think. I wish that we did like needle exchanges and stuff around here, Lafayette.
Cold truth. Sharon left Facebook and all social media because of the lies that were being told on her. She cried for days over one person that was making her life. I know, Dana. I know. It was so sad. They went as far as saying she didn't have cancer.
Oh my gosh, people are so cruel.
Yeah, they are. It's But that's the internet. I mean, that goes back to the bullying.
Mm-hmm. I guess it's just not that face-to-face thing that you don't. It's like people aren't people unless you're face-to-face with them or something.
That's awful, Dana. That's awful. Randy says, on my show. Hey, Randy. How are you, buddy?
Sharon,
Oh,
I think
Charles
you
is
can
on
also.
his show. Okay. And that's where he's done his wrongs. Well, it's good to ask for forgiveness and admit, Charles.
I think you can get Narcan free at a lot of health departments. At least you can in my state. If you don't have money
Um,
to pay for them.
I don't know. I can't remember here in Indiana. They keep changing things around. At one time, I think they did. Then I know they sell it in the
Mm-hmm.
pharmacy, but I don't know if.
And I've been trained on how to use it, and it's super easy. I don't even necessarily think that training is necessary. I mean, it's helpful, but all you do is squirt it in somebody's nose. Is it their nose? I think it's their nose.
Okay, I missed we were talking addiction and Greeno name came up. Okay, I don't know why or how.
It actually came up as talking about her being a moderator for him.
Oh, okay. But okay, I don't know why it would have came up for the addiction part, just because she was a mod on there, but okay. Anyway, Lafayette says they give out Narcan in the bag of stuff they give people at the needle exchange at the health department. Okay. Charles has been here before and was respectful. Okay. I'm sorry, Charles. I just haven't I didn't I didn't remember you, and I sure didn't remember you being disrespectful on here.
I don't know, Cher. I don't feel like he writes like he does, but I could be wrong.
You can love someone from afar when they're using or in an active addiction, but those people really need us more than anything. Right. Right, Lafayette.
Yeah, boundaries are important. Setting them and keeping them.
Yes, Sharon. Yeah, I know we can do that here, but I don't know if it's free. Welcome back, Sharon. Thank you, Sharon.
Does anybody else have any questions about? I know there's a lot of information that altogether it's interesting to me, but sometimes the little snippets of information that create the whole story aren't, the most entertaining things in the world.
Yeah. Does anybody have any more questions?
I hear some little puppy feet around.
Oh, I was typing to Dana.
Okay. Well, your fingers sound like puppy feet.
um. Oh,
I don't know about that, but I could be
well,
wrong.
I don't either. I did see some signs, but
I'm not.
so
I'm not well
yeah,
versed.
I I don't know. I was gonna, when we were finished, share something, just because it was close to in my state. But if anybody has any other questions or comments, I please ask away. Well, that's fine, Dana. I'm just talking about, like, as far as there's no reason to bring him into addiction or talk about anything else. But she was a moderator on his channel. She was a great moderator. I think she was she on Cats too? I can't remember.
I was thinking that, but
But she was a
I don't know.
she was a good person, and yeah, a lot of bad things were done to her.
It's really sad.
But she's at peace now, so um, it's
I'm sure
sad.
she's in a better place than we are at the moment.
It's sad she had to live her last days like that.
I think while we wait for questions, my closing statement, I guess if you wanted to call it that, is that when you see in the media and just headlines and things like that about the opioid epidemic, while there are problems with people, and it's mostly illicit fentanyl and heroin, and there are areas of the country and families that are devastated by those overdoses, just remember that there are people on the other side too, and that we don't need to be swinging things. Anytime you swing the pendulum too far to one side, in my opinion, things get bad. I think moderation is always good.
Yeah. Well, Fox, it's not a rule. It's just that it's nobody's business about him. I mean, everybody thinks they know his business. They think they know what's going on with him and all that, and I just don't prefer to discuss him in that way. I mean, that's not my channel's not Greeno. or about Greeno, and he wasn't the topic of discussion. Dana just mentioned that she was the moderator of his channel. That was fine. But yeah, people come on here sometimes and think they're going to get info, and they're not. That's the thing. So, sorry, I was answering Fox.
No, it's okay. It's your channel.
Um, so, and it creates more drama, really, Fox. And I'm tired of that. I don't want any here.
It can spiral pretty quick from a innocent comment to out of hand real quick.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
welcome for all the thank yous that are out there.
Yeah. I think you've done a great job.
Oh, and if you guys are on Twitter and this is a topic that you're interested in, or just kind of want to see what the conversation is, I know there's probably more, but the hashtag CPP, or probably hashtag chronic pain patients, but definitely hashtag CPP is something you can search to get there.
Thank you. I might do that. Follow. I'm getting better at Twitter.
I'll have to give you if you're interested in it at all, I'll have to give you the name of a doctor who's really good to follow for it.
I'm trying. I'm getting better.
It's hard to follow the conversation sometimes.
Yeah, it does. I shared Ray's petition though. I was able to do that. I try to share things on there. I don't get into the conversations very well. I'm still learning that, but at least if I see somebody share something, I try to reshare it.
I've got to go look at his petition and sign it and share it.
Aw, Taffy. Thank you, Ivy. Helped me a lot. I lost my favorite niece to drugs. Aw, I'm so sorry, Taffy.
Yeah, I'm sorry too. It's so hard to lose people for anything, but especially things that we feel like are preventable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's good to sometimes talk about this because, thank you, Sapphire. You have a good evening too. Thank you for joining us.
I was wrong.
Okay, today is a great day for me. Come out clean. I am beyond sorry to everyone in here, including Angela Hope. Yes, I am Mike Cunningham, and I really don't need hide anything. You all helped me out a lot. No joke. I knew it was you. I knew it was you from the beginning because of
Y'all
your
just don't listen to me. I'm wrong.
because of your spelling. And I knew you were in here thinking you were going to get some information. Goodbye. Because he does this all the time and then he never follows through. Thank you, Cher. You
Good
caught
job,
on
Cher.
too.
Like a
I'm sorry.
snipping them out.
I'm sorry. I will not have him in here. He can listen in the background like anyone else, but he will not be welcome in my chat.
His sentences were just so well constructed at first, so it seemed like it wasn't him.
No, I knew it was him because they weren't fully in the way he was talking. I knew it was him. I knew it was him, but I was waiting.
Yeah. It is nice to give people the benefit of the doubt just in case it's not.
Yeah, I didn't want to go off on a heavy wrench tangent.
Just beating people up all over the place with a wrench.
Well, everybody's seen it. I don't care.
That was a joke. That wasn't anything bad.
Well, Fox says his admission is deleted now. I screenshotted it before. I I can screenshot on my computer. I do it all the time when I need to in my chats. Junie says, "Fooled me."
Me too,
I knew
Junie.
I knew it was him, especially, I mean, he was giving himself away. Come on. All the wrongs, all the wrongs. Now you know, Randy, if you're still in here, who he is. Randy's being taken
I do not
advantage of
understand
right
him.
now anyways. I mean, but Randy's got to learn on his own sometimes.
Yeah. Dana, I am not either of those. I'm just a regular mental health type therapist. Um, I don't have any official training in addiction per se. A little bit of experience in it, but mostly through what's called co-occurring disorders, which is basically when people have both an addiction and a mental health disorder. Um, but I've never seen somebody specifically for addiction. It's always kind of like a side item.
Yeah. But you are very intelligent. And like I said, one of the things I like about you is your mind. You look at things from different perspectives, different angles, different, and, um, you see
Thank
things differently from most
yeah,
people. And
thank
that's can be a good thing. It is a good thing. You
thank
make
you. That's very
us
nice of
see
you to
things,
say.
you make us see things differently, even if we don't agree on it. It still opens our mind up.
Well, like I always tell everybody, and I hope everybody is comfortable enough. If I ever say anything that is like a too far type thing, definitely let me know. Or if I'm asking too many questions, I'd rather somebody, tell me about it than just be annoyed with me and not say anything.
Yeah. Junie, I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. And Sharon, oh,
Oh, LCSW? No, LPC.
Sharon's got a storm coming like a hurricane. Yep, that's one reason, Joy, because people just want to come in here and then go running off at the mouth about things they don't know. And
Well, I guess I'm going to go ahead and get off here and go to the chat if you don't mind.
okay, because I'm going to show this article. It's just something that happened, here,
Is it
and
crime stuff or like this
it
related
is.
stuff?
Yeah, it's a little crime.
Okay, yeah, I'll go in the comments.
Okay.
All right, see you guys in a minute. Bye.
Okie dokie. Um, how many accounts is that man going to make? Oh, who knows, Dana? I mean, for real, who knows? But I'm usually pretty good at, because I know when he talks in caps, he always misspells or he doesn't make sense. But when he started apologizing for everything, I'm like, okay, uh-huh. But he apologizes, but then he goes and does it again. And then when he called me and then he admits who he is. Well, why don't you just. But anyway, that's enough about him. It's not a hurricane, just seems like it. Good night, Lafayette. Thank you for coming in and sharing your story. That was very brave of you. So very proud of you. You're a wonderful person. You have a good night. Oh, I'm tired of rain around here. I hate cloudy days. I'm not looking forward to the winter. I don't know what I'm going to do because I'm already waking up in the morning freezing. It was freezing this morning, guys. I do love storms, though. I like sleeping while it storms. So I just wanted to read this article to you because it is here in Indiana. It's in a little town called Waynetown, um, near Crawfordsville, Indiana. Um, so, yeah, I just thought I'd share it with you. It's sad. It's very sad. It is horrible to think that somebody could do this to their own family member, but it happens. Um, so I'm going to share this with you and read it. It's not really long. And some of you may know about it if you live here. Let me get this out of the freaking way. I hate ads. So it's a mother and her son charged with catastrophic neglect. And this is in Waynetown, Indiana. 2 family members in Waynetown are being charged with multiple counts of neglect of a dependent following a months-long investigation by police. Deborah Diane Snyder, 64, and her son Lance, 40, of Waynetown were arrested Friday at their home at 309 Blackford Street. Both are charged with 2 accounts of neglect of a dependent resulting in catastrophic injury, a level 1 felony. Deborah faces additional charges of 2 counts of neglect of a dependent, placing dependent in a situation that endangers dependent's life or health, abandons or cruelly confines dependent, or deprives dependent of necessary support, and results in serious bodily injury, a level 3 felony. Lance Snyder faces 2 additional counts of neglect of a dependent, resulting in serious bodily injury, a level 3 felony. It was bad, Waynetown Marshal Kyle Proctor said. It's the worst case of neglect I've ever seen, and I'm on my 20th year of this. A lot of the hospitals, they all said it was the worst case of neglect they've seen as far as injuries. The arrests are a result of an investigation performed by the Waynetown Police Department and the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office after receiving a tip August 14th that a senior citizen was in poor condition at the home. I'm out of breath. The 70-year-old female was reportedly covered in bed sores and riddled with infection down to the bone. Flesh-eating insects were also present, officials said. Proctor said medical professionals have indicated the woman will likely succumb to her injuries in less than a month. Isn't that sad? It's just a matter of time. It's just too far, he said. She went from around 170 to 180 pounds and down to 70 in 2 years. They said it's all because of her malnutrition and the injuries were just too severe. She would never be able to walk again because of the bugs and deterioration of just laying on the couch all the time. The relative had come to live with the Snyders in 2018, following a successful battle with cancer, according to police. The woman's condition was discovered and reported to Proctor after Deborah Snyder asked a friend to help lifting the older woman after she had fallen off the couch. The investigation began August 14th when Proctor performed a well-being check with the hour of receiving the tip. He called for medical assistance upon discovering the woman's condition. It ended up being a lot worse than we thought it was, he said. They were not feeding her, not taking care of her, not giving her water appropriately. She hadn't been to the doctor since she moved in. She wasn't on her medications because they never filled them. Basically, they just left her there to die. Though the investigation is ongoing, a request for a subpoena has been submitted to observe the woman's bank records. It is believed the mother and son were using the woman's debit card. Interviews indicate Deborah Snyder has hired legal counsel, and Lance freely admitted to the neglect, Proctor said. The woman is now being treated at a long-term care facility in Indianapolis. Adult Protective Services and the Center for At-Risk Elderly are overseeing her care and have assumed legal guardianship. It's just unfortunate that we didn't get to her sooner, but when you don't know, you don't know. If it wouldn't have been for this person who called then, we would have never known. We would have just ended up finding her dead one day. The Snyders were also the subject of a 2018 investigation of neglect during or concerning Deborah Snyder's mother. However, no charges were ever filed in the case. Wow. Hopefully we can come back on them there too. A warrant resulting from the investigation was executed Friday by a Wayne deputy and an Indiana State Police trooper. Police also discovered marijuana paraphernalia in the home, resulting in possession charges for Lance. Lance was convicted of theft in 2005, fleeing the scene of an accident in 2013, and criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon in 2015. He served 3 years in community corrections and later violated. The pair are currently housed at the Montgomery County Jail with $10,000 cash-only bonds. Additional charges may be filed against them if the woman dies as a result of the neglect. So, isn't that sad? Right, what's wrong with people? It didn't say what relationship. I was thinking maybe it was the sister to the lady, an aunt to the son. How can you do that to somebody? How could you just watch her deteriorate and suffer, not feed her, not? She had to be begging and crying and. But yeah, I just wanted to share that. I lived near there. I lived in Crawfordsville years ago. But you know, that happens to children. How many cases have we seen of that? And it's like, I wish they could just go knock on, just start knocking on doors. But I know that's unconstitutional. But you know, what would they find? Just knock on doors. Yes, I'm glad it was turned in 10. I just wished it'd been sooner. But they said they had investigated another case on that lady's mom, and it went nowhere. But he said they're gonna, hopefully they can go back to that. I probably missed other comments. Or were you guys just chit-chatting? What was the age? Daggone it. 70 keeps ringing a bell. 64 does too. I have allergies all year long, Dana. All year long. Oh yeah, Ivy, isn't that the truth? I don't know, Ivy. They said they have guardianship over her, the Adult Protective Services and some other agency. It is disgusting, Mom. It's I I don't know how people have, you know, the son admitted, but his mom's got counsel. I mean, my mom and I were talking because we were talking about this case. There's probably some mental illness there, maybe with the son since he admitted so quickly. But like I told my mom, you know, these people, even these serial killers and people that do these horrific crimes, any of these crimes, these sexual acts on children, there's something off. There has to be for them to do these awful crimes. Doesn't make an excuse for them. Don't think I'm saying that. I'm just saying you can't be right. There's something off to be able to do these things. Yes, it's hard to wrap your head around. Yeah, Joy, I'm sorry too. And there's good foster parents out there, foster homes. I know there are, but there's also not good ones. Same with parents. There's good parents and there's not good parents. Yeah, I have to have Panthenol for my eyes every day. Um, and I do the Flonase. But the allergy medicine, it all makes me tired. I am so sensitive to medicine. Uh, yeah, I'm sorry, Joy. That is sad. Yeah, I do too, Chris. I hope more charges are brought. That's a true statement, Joy. Really, Ivy. Yep, it's very sad. Yes, I know, Junie. I know. I'm like, oh my goodness. So you know how long they allowed this to go on. Isn't that not sad and disgusting? That is very true too, Joy. Very true. Now, see, he's speaking there because he obviously messed up a word there, but I know what you're saying, Hubs. And the government gives child support funds, food stamps, and free school lunches for foster and adoptive children. Yes, that's right, Fox. And a lot of them don't use it like they're supposed to. Another true statement. No, she's saying that there's never an excuse for foster or adopted kids not getting enough to eat. She gets what you're saying now. Oh, that's sad, Ivy. Right, Wom. It is. Yeah, or I mean, but what really, I mean, some of these people, I think he probably knew, how can I not confess? I live in this home. And it amazes me that you bring that up, Chris. It amazes me that some of these people go to trial when they know they're downright busted, no way out, and they go to trial, they're going to get the max. It's like, why don't you take the plea, get lesser, because you know you're busted and the jury's going to find you guilty. I see these cases all the time on one of our court things um, for Tippecanoe County. And it's like, dude, you know they got you dead to freaking rights, but they go all the way to trial. They're found guilty. They knew they were going to be. My son does too, Angela, and I hate that for him and you. People that don't have allergies doesn't know how bad they can get. My son has asthma too. Oh, goodness. I hate that for him, Dana. That's awful. My brother has worse allergies than me, though, man. And that could be true, Ivy, if you know, if he's got a mental illness. I mean, it could have been the mother. You know, I mean, I know a woman, I can't think of her name right now, but we could talk that case one night. Um, oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. And she had her sons do it, manipulated them, in other words, kill her husband. It's from, I think, LaPorte, Indiana. Um, oh, man, that was a pretty serious case. Yeah, hate to think. Yeah, Ivy, it is amazing. It is amazing. Yeah, that's even scarier. How many are unreported? I can believe that, Cher. I can. And so she's in terrible pain. I had an aunt that was so sensitive. She couldn't even take Advil because she would, I mean, it was hilarious how it would affect her. Yeah, I can't take that for the rest of my life. I can't take ibuprofen, Aleve, none of that stuff. But then there's Tylenol that's hard on the liver. I mean, you know, pharmaceutical companies sure knew what they were doing, weren't they? There's a side effect for everything. So then you take this for that, this for that. Yeah. She'd get loopy, Ivy. That's what it would do to my aunt. Yeah, Joy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, kids do that. Or they eat like they're never going to eat again when they do eat. It's so sad. I've seen it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sharing the kidney. Yeah, Taffy, I believe that. Yes. I'm sorry. I'm glad that she didn't. Super glad. Yeah, Joy. Well, guys, I think I'm going to say good night. We've been on for a couple hours. I think we had a great discussion. I think Ivy Rose done a great job. Yes, Wom, yes. Thank you for reminding me. I was going to ask you to do that again. Thank you so much for being my reminder. You guys always help me out in some way or another. That's awesome, Taffy. I'm glad. Please repost, Wom. Guys, this is a petition for Ray Hanish. If you have not looked at it and signed it, sign it. I can't talk tonight. I ask that you will, and please share it. Good night, Taffy. So I want to thank you all for coming. And Ivy, I thank you for coming on the show. You did a great job. And I know there's a lot more that you can talk about. So maybe we can have you on again sometime. I'm going to share that on my Facebook now and in the group, guys. I have shared it Twitter and I have signed it. I'm so sorry, Lake. I hate that. But I thank everyone for coming. Now, tomorrow's my Bible study night, so I won't be on, but I will be back on Thursday and Friday. And because I think NCOG's going to be on Saturday. So, no, I haven't yet, Sharon. I have a lot of catching up to do. A lot. But I will. So, again, Ivy, thank you so much for coming on. And thank you all so much for joining us. And you all have a good night, sweet dreams, and God bless. And I will see you Thursday. And all stay safe.